So in our second part of our movie, looking at lintels supporting the roof, wall and floor, we'd got up to this point in regards to loaded dimension of lintel. Now, what is the loaded dimension of a lintel? Well, just to explain a little bit more about that, I'm going to go to page 33, which brings up a really good diagram that we can just sort of whoops, just come back one bit. And the loaded dimension for members 1 and 2, loaded dimension equals the support span divided by 2. So what that means is a support span is between two obviously vertical members, looking at this case in 1 and 2, so two external walls. In our case it's going to be an internal and an external. So if we go into our SketchUp plan now, let's work this one out. We'll grab our little measuring tape here, and we're just going to come along here roughly, and we're going to be looking at about 5.9, give or take. Okay, so if we go and put this into the calculator, so what we're looking at, 5.9 divided by 2, we're looking at 2.95. So 2.95, okay, that shouldn't be a problem. So let's go and have a look at back on page 205. We'll just bring this back out so we can sort of see it. Whoops, about there. So we know we're under at 2.95. We know we're under this loaded dimension of 3, and we also know we're under a light roof and light wall. The only little problem is that when we're looking for basically our maximum span of lintel sizes listed below, 290 by 90s is the biggest span that we can do under this under loaded dimension of 3, with a light roof and light wall of 2.4. So we needed 3. So hence is our problem. Now so what do we need in this case? We're going to need a specifically engineered, designed lintel. Now obviously that is outside the scope when it comes to looking at, for example, in our simple house PDF file that we managed to get from the Department of Building and Housing, as you can see here, 31st of March 2010, it's outside their scope as well. So what it'll need to be is on your plans, or on these particular plans, we would have got that it needed a specific engineered design lintel in this area. When you actually look at our SketchUp, if you just bear with me a second, bringing this back into play, I'm going to just add in our mid-floor that's kindly been given to us, and you can see here that obviously this particular span is going to be too great for say a standard timber joist to run through for a floor joist. So it's going to need a beam to come through here, obviously, of some description. Now, with the beam coming through this way, obviously we're going to have our floor joists that are then going to be obviously housed into the steel beam, and then run off over this existing partition wall or internal wall in our house. And likewise here, just on this particular point, obviously on this very edge here will be the beam, but we've still got this part of the floor that needs supporting. So there's going to be floor joists that are going to obviously spread the load and bring the load out onto this particular lintel. Because you might have sort of thought, well, if there's a beam going through there already, well, this floor can just hang there and it can take all the weight. Well, you know, you've got to use a bit of common sense. No, it's not quite right. And technically, when those joists come out, it's going to spread the load onto this particular lintel here, and it's going to put pressure on it. And because it's outside the scope of 3604, then what we're going to need to do is get a specific engineered designed lintel, and there's many different lintels that can do that, obviously. But in your obviously in your site documents, for example in your house plans for this particular house, you would soon see that under the specifications with this particular lintel that you'd probably need to get a report done for it. It would obviously have all the calculations, and it would have been already passed through in the when you're first going for your building consent, that it would have needed to have been in there. They would have picked it up straight away. So it's obviously something you need to be aware of, and not just think, oh right, it's quite a big opening, I'm just going to use the 290 by 90, do a double up, obviously lintel joist, 290 by 45 times 2. No, you can't do that. You're going to need an SED through here, and obviously you're going to need an SED in this particular point through here. You're going to need a beam of some specification to carry this load. If you come into, beg your pardon, just looking at this Department of Building and Housing, the 31st of March 2010, section SH-AS1, looking at figure 4.11 under the Simple House PDF that, remember, I downloaded, this could just be one scenario that you could use. You've got steel lintels, trimming studs, and obviously the prevention of uplift. So you may even have uplift. We know this house is in a high wind zone, so that's obviously going to play a factor as well, that you'd obviously need to go and look at on Department of Building and Housing, look at the different wind zones that this particular house has fallen into. It's in a high one, then that would be another issue that you'd also have to look at maybe. Obviously in this case you're going to need 4 studs that it's saying here, 4 90 by 45 studs fixed together with additional of 100 by 3.75 nails at 600 centres, with 2-100 times 3.75 nails immediately under the lintel. And you can see here obviously we've got 2 M12 bolts with 50 by 50 times 3 washers. Make sure they're 50 by 50. It's these little things that are going to get picked up when it comes to getting the compliance through. And also obviously this bolted through here as well with 50 by 50 and washers. So there's obviously factors within this Department of Building and Housing under under the Simple House PDF or brochure that tells you the ways in which you can do it. So obviously you do not do it. It does need to be done by an engineer. It does need to show forms of calculation that is going to be stand up and be accepted by your local governing body, your local TA, to their standard. And once they are satisfied and happy, then obviously it can carry on, and the house can be built, and you can get around that problem. But it was just one that was brought up that we a friend and I discovered in our class while just sitting down, and we thought we were racing through and thought this is too good to be true, and lo and behold we came unstuck with this particular point. So that raises that issue, and I've tried to explain using the Department of Building and Housing, which has some great information on it, as you've seen, all the different codes or brochures that you can download using NZS 3604, and looking at basically looking at your lintel supporting the roof, wall and floor. It gives all the specifications here, and then just looking at your different loads here and loaded dimensions. So all the information was there. We needed to sit down and have a look at it, analyse it, and then obviously we've soon worked out that if that was not on the plan, at least you could have used the Department of Building and Housing and NZS 3604 to soon determine that you're outside your building scope. So I hope that makes sense, and thank you for listening to this video clip, and I hope it all has made sense. If you have any further questions or comments that you wish to make, please feel free, as I'm only learning in this particular point as well myself, and it's been a good learning curve. So thank you very much.